Yeah, what you come here for? All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like peace. No, no, no. All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like peace. No, no, no. Oh, you mean? That's right. This is our party in here. We having our time, don't stop. Everybody breaking away. Strictly unity inside here. Tell them we don't want no trouble. This party is decent people. If you ever thinking evil, inside there is ready not for you. All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like peace. No, no, no. All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like peace. No, no, no. And you ready to party? Look, you have a knife from your belly. Rude boy that is plain enough to see. You come here to kill somebody. It's time that you stop that nonsense. We come here to enjoy ourselves. Leave hatred right there on top the shelf. This party is no violence. All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like peace. No, no, no. All we want is unity and peace.
Indeed, it's a special day, and we are so happy today to have a sit down with former Prime Minister of Grenada for 23 plus years, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, as well as the first leader of His Majesty's opposition and political leader of the New National Party. And for this period of 23 years being Prime Minister, most of the years he was the Minister of National Security. And today, with the issue of crime and violence, the upsurge in the country, I think it is rather important and timely to have that discussion with Dr. Mitchell as it relates to what we're seeing unfolding in the country. And with me on the set this morning, today as well, is Selwyn Noel, a veteran journalist for over 3 decades. And when I talk about veteran, he reminds me of the late Leslie Pierre and Alistair Hughes, two outstanding Grenadian journalists who have gone before and would have paved the way, and Selwyn is seen in this light. So I want to thank you for being here with us. But most importantly, Dr. Mitchell, with what we're seeing at this point in time, and let's look at it. As of the 18th of July 2023, we had some 14 homicides in the country, while at the same time in 2022 we had only 3. This must be a worrying trend for everyone in the country. And also we have seen some 6 suicides, and within that number we had 2 young ladies. Again, this also is worrying. We need to look at those issues. What are the prevailing conditions, that is, or the environment that is giving rise to this set of crime and violence in the country? And there are other issues of crime which I wouldn't go into at this point. But Doc, I will now turn the mic over to you, because we would like to hear you. We would like to hear from you, and I know the country needs to hear from you how we can deal with this issue at this point in time.
Brothers and sisters, let me say this. I think this is important and timely intervention, because it is well known that we are facing a national celebration of our annual carnival. And this is a time that people want to relax and enjoy themselves. And it is a good thing for the country, and it brings in a lot of visitors to this country. And clearly a lot of our young people want to play their mass, their jab, and to really give off steam, so to speak. So it is a crucial time for all of us. And therefore we need all this stability and peace and good atmosphere in this time. But clearly, as was just pointed out, with the present atmosphere of state of crime in our country, and the problem related to a number of suicides and other incidents that some of them not even reported, it's quite worrying to all the citizens of this country. And what was, in my view, a bit worrying more is that we heard little or nothing in the last several weeks from the Ministry of National Security, and which of course must be of serious concern. As I pointed out in Parliament, the issues of peace and order and stability, it's not about any political party. In other words, we cannot make this a political issue, because when a country reaches a period of instability and when incidents of violence occur, anyone, whether the MNP, NDC, can in fact be engulfed by it. So this has to be an issue that must concern every citizen. But we expect the government to lead. That's precisely what it's all about. I'm also very concerned, particularly as it relates to the issue of young people. Because young people, they're impressionable. We pass through stages of youth too. And we know how excited we can be, and how incidents can in fact make us believe that we can do what we want. I mean, we know that. We pass through the stage. So we have persons with more experience in the country would understand that we have to provide guidance and support as much as is possible. But it's clear that with this incidence of violence particularly among our young population, it must worry us. And therefore we must do what we can to arrest the situation and work as a country, as all stakeholders. So I would expect that every single important group in our country, and everyone has a role, we expect to see the churches playing a much more vigorous role in the question of support and advice and initiatives to help deal with the situation. Clearly, as I mentioned before, government has to lead. We expect to see the private sector, because the private sector is being affected. Because as they perceive to be instability or issues of crime in the country, and that appears to be a worry to everybody, it must worry the person investing in the country. And because of the economic situation facing the country, the businesses are affected. So we would expect that the business representation from various sectors of the business community should be involved in the process of attempting to find some solution to the problem we are now facing. The trade union movement cannot remove itself from this, because their workers are being affected by what is taking place in the individual communities. And in addition, the more you have a perception of crime increasing in the country, the less there would be investment and the less workers would be employed. So it affects the trade union. So the trade union should be involved. Non-governmental communities, the people involved in various sectors of the community should be involved. Different ministries, tourism is going to be affected, should be involved. And as a responsible opposition, we certainly would want to play a role as much as we are asked to do so. I must say also in this opening statement that I recall in a period in government when we had an upsurge of some criminal activities. Nothing compared to what we are seeing today, but it was worrying to us. What we did, we called on all stakeholders and we said, look, let us meet. We as government have some ideas, but we don't have all the solutions. We would want to have a session, and we want to come up with a program of activities that can help to deal with the present situation. And we did get support from all sectors, and we came up with a plan of action. In fact, I'm suggesting that the government should, in fact, take a look at the program that was decided. Then I'm pretty sure there would be modifications or additional initiatives that can be taken. But I think it's important that they can look at this. It's on the record and take it from there. But we are concerned, and therefore we believe that it's the right time. I made statements in the Parliament to just on Tuesday, but I felt given the restricted time of 15 minutes, clearly that was not sufficient. A number of views that the opposition has. Honorable Peter David made some intervention also, and some good ideas coming out from this. And other members did make statements as it relates to their concerns in their various communities on the issue of crime in the country as it is now prevailing in our country at this time. So I welcome the opportunity, and I of course welcome Selwyn, you being the experienced person that you are, that having the opportunity to listen to your questions and of course answer as appropriately as I can.
Let me say pleasant morning, pleasant day as a matter of fact. I am worried over the issue, and as a communications person, with the fact that there seems to be some sort of inaction, right? And I am saying this to say that you wouldn't believe, surprisingly, a short while ago, I understand that there were 5 murders last night in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And insofar as the police commissioner called it mass shooting, right? And it has heightened the kind of spirit for security, because definitely it's pretty shocking. What would you perceive may have been the government's inaction on this? Because it's been creeping up over a period of time. It was there, not on the surface, it has now come to the surface. And what would you probably perceive might have been the government's inaction? Because just recently they had this regional crime and violence summit in Trinidad, and I think the Prime Minister attended it. Do you feel it is a matter that they were not taking this issue that seriously?
Well, it's not just that they have not taken the issue seriously. My own perception is that their action has been, to some extent, their actions are contributing to the factors related to what can be perceived as the problems that we are facing. There's no doubt we have a serious issue in the country of economic stress. All sectors of the society are telling you that they are under serious stress. The police service, in a time of security concerns, clearly the police force must be seen as one of the most critical factors in arresting the present situation. And what you find? Strangely so. And I've been pointing it out in statements I've made. There a serious erosion of confidence and a serious issue of moral of the police force officers that are responsible for governing, for dealing with security. And the government cannot duck responsibility for this, because the government was elected to manage the affairs of the country. Security is a major component of this. The government proceeded to use the politics of victimization within the police force, thereby sidelining good, competent officers in the name of political, what they call it, rebalancing, restorative justice, big words, which is serious, which frightens a lot of people, because competent officers, we had an FIU that was identified as one of the best FIU in the entire region. It's well known. Officers there. Somehow, people that are perceived to be in positions under the past government is perceived to be aligned with the government politically, and that is far from the truth. So many of them have been moved. So you have literally dismantled the FIU, which is a critical component of dealing with criminal activities in and outside of the country, where Grenadians are concerned. And that was a problem. Police officers have been transferred overnight. They will get elected, then people just come to them and tell them, look, you go to this village tomorrow, this parish the next day. Because of the perception, one basis, the perception of their relationship with. In fact, I know of a few cases that people that never supported us, but they were perceived because we operated a government on the basis of the best officers must be utilized, whether they support or not, the government of the day. And they were moved. They made them a political opposition person by their victimizing those individuals, causing their own selves political problems, which is rather strange. So the police force, the government, if it is serious about arresting the situation, must take corrective action with respect to that politics of victimization, or what they call rebalancing, restorative justice. I don't know what that means in the context of fighting crime in the country. The best officers must be involved. I also believe stress related in the public service. There is a tremendous drop in the morale of the public service. I know that for a fact, and who don't want to admit it, I think it's just trying to pretend otherwise. Because clearly, people have been promoted without no concept of on what yardstick is being used. The only yardstick is the closeness to a politician or the perceived closeness to somebody who is opposed to the government. You must have problems. So a lot of competent officers have been moved from the position in the public service. So you had every day, every week, every 2 weeks, every month, you're hearing stories of people not being paid. And I cannot say when people call me and they said, I have not got paid. The government boss, they don't have any money. I say, no, I can't even go that far. I'm not sure the issue is about money. Because I believe that the major problem must be because the officers who will replace those competent officers do not know the job. So they are just learning the job. So a lot of things are not being done on time or appropriately to ensure that people get paid. What excuse you can give for government over the years having commitment for particular service and working in many areas, and they were paid never a day, a month. They were late in payment under the previous government. All of a sudden, they have to call 2 weeks after the month end. They have to call even the Prime Minister. I understand many of them told me they call the Prime Minister. I would be worried. I was Prime Minister, and a man gives service to the government, he has to call me. I would ask myself, what am I doing in this thing? That's not my job. And it's only after they call the Prime Minister they get paid. And so more and more people are doing it. You see the point? The problem would mount on the Prime Minister and the government as a whole. So this is a very serious matter, and it has to be addressed. And I am saying this is an area that of serious. What excuse you can give? I was driving about 3 weeks ago in the countryside, and that's why I wouldn't say where, because I don't want people being, see, there's a perception of fear in the country. And apparently there's people doing the pitching gang with the asphalt, the coal mix, on the road working. And they recognized me and stopped me. They shouted me out, and I told the driver to stop. And I went, stood up and talked, and they said, "Doc, talk for us now. 4 fortnights we working, no money. 4 fortnights, you know." So I said, I had not heard this from anybody working in my area. So I said maybe they made a mistake. So I made calls afterwards to certain other persons I know normally perform their work. They said, "That's true." So I said to them, "Why then are you still working if 4 weeks you don't get paid?" They say, "Well, Doc, if we don't work, we surely would never get paid. But if we work, we hope one day we'll get, so we're still coming out." But these are poor people. These are not people at my level that I can say that whether I get paid this month or not, I will continue to live properly. These are people almost on a week-to-week basis live by the resources that they earn on the job that they're doing. So I'm saying, all that is saying, the government has contributed to the problem they're facing. The issue of youth, just make the points. It's a serious issue. All the programs that we had in place to help the young people of the country, I don't want to go into all of them, many of them have been dismantled. Many of the Imanis have been sent home, and they are now, some of them, even those who are working, they cut the stipend they used to get. They just cut fund one day, and they collect the resources, and they see they take $200 from it. They wonder why. So they get a shortage, even those who are now still working. Some, I would say, I can't say all because I can't speak for all of them. So all these are telling you something, and I just want to mention the last thing. You see, this politics of victimization, this politics is a dangerous politics. And I urge the government to make a turnaround fast, because it is working tremendously against the government. I don't think the government understands. When you get a vote, it's not a vote to put in your pocket and tie it, They must understand. If they look at what happened to the NNP, we had 15 seats in 2018, And we lost 9. We lost 9, yes. In just 4 years. The NDC in 2008 had 11 seats. And I remember telling a member in Parliament one day, I was telling him about the problem people facing and how the government is losing support. And he told me, I won by 1,500 votes. I say, "Oh, put it in your pocket and tie it, stitch it. You will find out in 4 years. 4 years, the same 1,600 votes disappeared. He was beaten by 600 votes. So it was a 2,200 difference in just 6 years. In just 4 years, 5 years, sorry. So the government does not seem to understand the level of political opposition and hostility that they are creating for themselves. They cannot blame the NNP. Because people have been saying, "Doc," when they mean, "Doc, you're not saying nothing." They cannot say, because I've been very quiet. The people made a change. I always believe that you have to accept in anything you're doing, when you lose, you have to be a good loser. If you want to be a good winner, you must be a good loser. And I've always consistently accepted. Whenever we've lost an election, I've always complimented the government, while I'm disappointed with the loss. I did it in 1990, I did it in 2008, and I did it again in 2022. And let me make this point. I have never, with all elections we have won, no time, the opposition NDC has ever complimented me or the government or any office of my government on the victory. In other words, they have never demonstrated that they've been a good loser. And that's an unfortunate. So the politics of victimization is, and there are other issues I could mention, but I think I've given enough.
As you speak about the politicization, and I noticed that one among the suggestions as it relates to fighting the issue
Yes.
or dealing with the matter is the community spirit.
Yes.
How we get back the community
Yes,
spirit.
yes.
Do you think that time has elapsed on us as it relates to that? Because within the communities themselves, there is the same political victimization
Yes.
with NDC jeering at NNP, NNP jeering at NDC, NDC is pushing that power structure within the communities. How do we get across that? Especially in a time like now, dealing with the issue where we notice that the violence and crime is flaring up within the communities.
Well, let me make the point. In any given situation, and any grouping, you would have elements that may not necessarily do and say the right things, and we proceed to work together. It happens in NDC, it happens in the NNP. But I think the key thing is the leadership must never be seen as encouraging their supporters to malign unfairly or to victimize unfairly their opponent. I go in villages. Up to last week I was in a village and a question was asked, and I said to them, let me tell you something. I don't want you to go out there and curse your sister and brother for politics. You could state your position on an issue. That's okay. If the government is doing something that's not right and you see your friend or family or villager supporting it, you can criticize that. But never get into personal attacks and hostility and anger. Because I make the point, I said to them, let me tell you this. You go down in your village today and you go up sick. Would you be seeing me? Or you may be seeing an NNP person? You sure? Not necessarily. It might be the same NDC supporter who have to come to your rescue. So always maintain that civility and relationship as you go forward. So I think the issue is leadership. I do not hear any member of the present leadership speaking to people about not doing these things. I don't hear it. In fact, I get the impression it's condoned. And it's being laughed at. When I was making the point in Parliament, I never forget, I can't believe this. That is the only time I got emotional in Parliament last Tuesday. I was speaking about the government taking away $150 from the poor old man or old lady who has to buy Pampers, who has to buy medication, and with the cost of living and food, with things that skyrocketing every day. And two members on the opposite side laughing. I stop. And I say, yeah, you could laugh. Things nice with you. But the average man outside catching his nenen, you have no feelings. And he voted for you. Some of them did. But you're laughing. I saw the face got serious afterwards. At least they understood something was fundamentally wrong with that. So I'm making the point that this is an issue we must, and that's why we need to work together. As I said to people, there are enough issues in politics that we can score political points on with respect to each other. We don't need to divide one another and cause division as a way to solve problems in any society. And I will never be part. My history, I cannot sit here and tell you that everything that I wish to see happen during the period of my government, that every member of my government, even at the leadership level or at the constituency level, have conducted themselves in the manner that I want to see. But I will never condone it. In fact, I've spoken to members when I see this going the wrong way, that this is not the approach, because you have to be your brother's keeper. Remember that always.
In essence, you're telling me that you want to see some programs, even at this time of emergency. Who is going to effect those programs? I hear the call from you in Parliament.
Well, we hope the government will now, with the statements we're making, would call on the NNP will provide representation. It doesn't have to be me. Some of them have a problem with Keith Mitchell, the person, I suppose, and that's okay. So they don't want me. they could call and they would have to identify, they'd have to deal with the leader of the opposition, but we have excellent members in opposition that can in fact provide, be part of a consultative group going forward. So it doesn't have to be me, but I clearly have to give some endorsement and support if the NMP has to be involved in any serious activity. So I honestly believe, when we had the Grand Baccalaureate, you know that center? We are constantly reviewing and understanding what's happening in our society. So we saw issues of concern. We saw young girls have been misused by some older men in the society and being taken advantage of. Some of them are young people without guidance and support. We know the family unit is not as strong as it was when we were growing up. So we recognize that we have to take some steps. So we created this issue because a lot of the young girls were finding themselves in issues that destroy them. And we created this institution at the Grand Baccalaureate. And we had a lot of programs. No, if I cannot sit here and say that it was perfect, I would suggest the government examine that, because they've been dismantling some of the officers that work there. They're changing the guard, so to speak, because everything has to be politicized. You know, but I am saying, I would suggest that they review, restore some of the programs that we had, or improve on it and expand it. And the government and the opposition will certainly give all the support in the process of dealing with it. So I think the Grand Baccalaureate program would be an important program to deal with. There might be another center. Might the government want to look at opening up and increasing the activity, because you will see more and more problems coming forward. That way we need to take interventions and to help the young people as we go forward. So I am suggesting there's more of that needs to be done.
I see there's some need for, based on the fact that you mentioned the churches, called out to the churches, most times there's the belief that people call to God for that kind of hope and to get that motivation going. How do you see this happening? Because over the period of time there have been a lot of infractions in the society where the churches were called out to help. Is it a matter of resurrecting that kind of feeling within the churches so that they can come out?
Well, I think we live in a Christian society, and I think a lot of our people fundamentally believe have strong religious views, and I think the churches will always be seen as a very useful component of solving issues of problems in our society. And we have people in churches who are very passionate members and follow the leadership guidance in many, many respects. And I think if all the churches get involved in helping in their own communities, even if not at the national level, because you can have a national activities at what the leadership level of the churches with government and other persons, but at the community level, I think it can certainly help to bring the message of hope. There are some churches I know that have been doing a pretty good job, not just now, but even before. I know some churches who recognize that there are problems and they have to attract the young people. Every time I go to a church, the first thing I do, I look around to see the composition of the congregation. And I always tell my church, the Catholic Church, I said, look, sometimes I go to church and I see I'm one of the youngest person there. So I say, boy, we're in trouble. because I shouldn't be anywhere close to that. But I go to some other churches and I see a lot of young people. And I always go up to the pastor and the church leader and I compliment them. I say, look, I am so impressed to you're able to get these young boys and young girls in your congregation. There's some churches I know they have classes in the afternoon teaching the young people. to use the computer and to do to deal with the new system of communication. And I think the young people will be attracted. And that's the one way you can use to attract them to get involved in more religious activities. And recently, as I go around, I've seen some churches having congregation and village activities where the members walking the streets and preaching message of hope. And I think that's an excellent idea. I've seen it up to last Sunday. I was coming from my church. And as I was coming out, I saw a whole congregation, about 100 plus members. So I stopped and asked them, what is this about? They said, Doc, this is a church and we want to do our own, make our own contribution to help the atmosphere of hope and in the country as a whole. And I see a number of churches doing it, and I would suggest more and more of that is necessary.
Basically getting the message of awareness around, because there ought to be national consensus on this now, because as it is, I would say it has totally gone out of control. I mean, looking at Grenada over the past time, and you have 14 situations of that serious nature, and we're so closely knitted in the true sense, family-wise, community-wise. How do you see the media playing a role in all this?
But, I have to be frank. Honestly, I've seen the media is so important. Selwyn is so important in a developing society. But I must say, I shudder when I see the type of thing that is coming from some section of the media, where I know that people that have more experience and can do better, where they don't seem to recognize that they have a powerful responsibility, and that worries me a lot. I know Gary, in introducing this program, talked about you, Selwyn, and you know exactly what he's talking about. I mean, you remember every day I always talk about the Leslie Pear, the Alistair Hughes. No one could say that these people were biased to the point that because they might give a vote to a political party, you can tell them and do what you want, and they don't say a word. There's Alistair Hughes, Leslie Pear. Any time I was in government and something happens where the government has been accused, I get a call from Leslie Pear. Hey, what going on there now? What stupidness are they doing now? And then I have to explain. Similarly with Alistair Hughes, it challenges you and so on. And then he asks you questions, and then he writes his report. I'm sure he went and asked the persons on the other side the same questions, and then he writes his report. Sometimes I agree and sometimes I don't agree, but I don't have to agree. So sometimes I meet Leslie and I say, what stupidness you writing? He said, that's my right to write stupidness. But that is what I think. So I think the media, I value, I know the station you work with, and I know the level of the new broadcast. I see it all the time. I think it is highly professional when I listen to it, and some of the stations. But I see news coming from more major TV stations, and it worries you. A rumor comes out, and they don't even ask the other side, and they just put out the information given because they might maybe have a bias, and it's okay to have a bias. I have no problem with any media person deciding they don't like the NMP or they don't like NDC, or they wouldn't support them. But you have a responsibility as a professional to do your work without fear or favor. And that if I come to you as an NMP supporter and I tell you, this NDC person did this, and you don't just go and put it out because I tell you, because you know I'm opposed to that person. You must give the other person an opportunity to respond. And then you use your judgment, as Alistair McIntyre and Leslie Pear and others in those areas. There are other good, Jerry Romaine and all this. Even Lou Smith. I always tell people, I know Lou had his bias, but I've never saw Lou as somebody who just go and say things just because of his political position. When I did interview with Lou, I cannot say that he was being unfair in his terms of his questioning or his assessment of the question. I always respected that, but I knew his political position.
But at this time, the media needs a shake-up in that respect, because if you have to create programs of awareness and sensitize the nation as it relates to stemming the tide, something has to happen within that framework.
I agree. The question is, who's going to bail the cat?
Would it be the leadership?
Well, I would assume so. I don't, honestly, I'm at loss where this one is concerned. I have rarely given interviews to certain media persons because I think it's many cases I see them as being so extreme in their biasness. They don't seem to know that they have a role of being independent. So I sometimes tell them I'm not going to waste my time. I mean, if I have a press conference, you come and answer any question, and I will do so, but I am not going to expose myself just like that, knowing that these people, some of those persons I'm talking about, don't seem to have no understanding of the seriousness of the role as a media person. That's my concern.
Quite recently, I noticed that you have taken up the responsibility to go to various centers and speak with young people.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
that a lot of them are being attracted
Yes.
as it relates to that program. Do you see more of it needed as it relates
Much
to
more.
our situation
Oh, yeah,
now?
absolutely, absolutely. I think we need, clearly, I think when you look at some of the actions of some of our young people, you realize, in some cases, I feel they're asking for help. And sometimes I get the impression when we criticize them, really we should be criticizing ourselves. Because these are our children and grandchildren. So if they're behaving so, the question is, where do they get it from? What are the guidance coming from the homes in the community, our homes? Where do they get it from? What are we collectively as responsible persons doing to help them, to guide them? We can't just sit there and say this boy is bad and this girl is bad and this one is... We have a responsibility. What hope are we giving them? Are we creating jobs to tell them, look, to get this training, here is a job you will find possibilities in? We're not giving you anything, but we're giving you opportunities to create something for yourself. What are we doing? I think these issues are absolutely so crucial. So we need more of that. We need more counseling. I think we need to look at probably a counseling session in maybe a parish where young people can go in and they have their frustration. Because some people you see that commit suicide. Sometimes somebody commits suicide and you think, oh, this man, I know this guy and this girl. It's strange. That's not the same person, When somebody reaches the point of going and commit suicide, they have lost their mind. Outside there and leaving this earth is almost an excitement for them. So our job, how do we reach them before they reach that stage? And when they get to the stage of frustration, where do they go to get help? So we need to have more counseling sessions and support psychosocial sessions where we can help people to look at a more positive side and to correct some of the problems that they're having going forward. And I think that we need more and more of those sessions. So I would suggest counseling sessions in the schools. We need to do that because a lot of the problems start in school. And if we don't correct it then or intervene then, the problem magnifies when they leave school. With a frustration of not finding a job, a frustration of dealing with problems at home that they cannot solve, and frustration, generally speaking, with how they see themselves as individuals mounting every day.
On the basis of all that, finding the problem, identifying the problem, finding solutions to the problem, looking at the current administration's 1 year in office. Would you, with your experience into the political frame, administration likewise, would you say it's time for the government to change direction somewhat?
Well, I'm telling you this. I can't be the advisor, because if I say, I get the impression if I tell them to stand up, they'll run. And if I tell them run, they're going to stand up. So I may not, but I only have to say it for people to, for what it's worth. I am very clear that if they continue on this path, it's going to be very difficult for them to keep the population quiet, because people are getting extremely frustrated. And my fear is that innocent people can get hurt in the process. Anytime a country goes into instability and chaos, it is not just those in authority that's to worry. All of us have to worry. It's our country and our lives are at stake. Look, I mean, look at my situation, my village. I go to the gym sometimes 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I pass villages. The incident that occurred just after, I could have passed. And so I could have got damaged because there was a shootout. A gang was firing at the police and the police firing back in a village. This is where I have never seen that in our country before. So an innocent person like myself could have been damaged at that time in the morning. So I think it's something that we cannot sit there and say that's a government problem and that's it. According to people, that's all our problem. So they have to change course. And if they change course, they have my total support in terms of the issues. As I said, there is enough issue to score political points. I'm not worried about our actions or political base of support relative to the NDC, because I think they're doing enough damage with the economy and the lack of opportunity, lack of vision, the amount of lies that are being told to people. People are counting the lies. They have enough. So I don't have to create anything. See this issue of crime? Let's drop everything. We're division. Let's work together and dealing with that. It requires all of us to support.
Dr. Mitchell, nice hearing from you on that aspect. You mentioned the fact about leadership. Yeah, and I know that in any organization, as a matter of fact, in Grenada has a culture when there's a leader, all the work falls on.
Yeah, that's right.
So
that's true.
He has to be able to lead from the front.
Yes.
Would you say his apprenticeship causes him not to face the reality in the true sense? Because as it is now, it's a different dispensation with crime and violence here. We're talking about guns.
Yes. And the drug issue. The drug issue. No, I think it is clear that the present leader, I think because he may not have been a serious mixer before politics, can be a serious hindrance to his understanding of what's taking place on the ground. That is my assessment. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I can only say what I feel and see. I get the impression he's not a very comfortable person around the ground, so to speak. When he's dealing with people, you could see the discomfort. When he speaks as if he's in a classroom as a professor. But you don't see the passion. You don't see empathy. You don't see love. You see a man articulating a position from a theoretical or what I would say intellectual standpoint. But that is not politics. That is not politics. So I think his lack of political activity or community type activity before entrance in leadership of the country must be a serious hindrance to what is his approach to some of the problems taking place. And again, that is my assessment. Because let's face it, I warned the population, but my view is just my view. The population felt differently and I accepted it. that most of the element in the persons running for office on the opposition side had literally no experience in governance, from the captain down to the team, the lowest level of the team. And I say, if you elect them in office, realize that they're going to have to learn on the job, so to speak. Well, it's far worse than that. Even my assessment of what can happen, that my expectation is certainly what is happening is far worse than I thought could have prevailed if they were elected as they were, and so on. So I believe a lack of apprenticeship must be a factor. So he's now learning, and I hope by learning,
lack of professionalism,
and by people like myself being outspoken. And because I know sometimes you will see the dogs start to bark all over the place. Sometimes people behave as if we're in a Rottweiler business. When somebody say something, they jump on their back and start cursing and getting on. And I don't think we should be in that. We are not animals. We are human beings. We may have differences. We don't necessarily support certain actions, but we should all work together. I don't like some of the behavior patterns where we behave like animals. I believe we need to learn to work together in going forward, because we're facing some serious issues and we're facing some serious problems facing our country, and I think it's important for us
and the nation needs hope.
Need hope.
I remember in your time you usually call at instances for a national day of prayer.
Yeah, yes. Mm-hmm.
Would you see something like that?
No, all this could help. I think by calling, it would show that you understand there is a problem. At least you understand that you need divine intervention, but our God tells us He helped those who help themselves. He would intervene, but you can't just sit down and say, I will pray, and that ends the story. What else can you do as individuals on your own? And then He would use His divine powers to help us on the way to helping ourselves. And I think that should be the approach taken.
Any final words you would like to dispatch as we rounding up this conversation?
My own last word is that the government must start to lead and be more proactive. I don't see how months have to pass with an obvious problem, growing crisis of crime in the country. And only when people start calling and say, well, they need Dr. Keith Mitchell to make a statement. I hear people on the radio. That's when you come out and say, well, you're going to say something. I find it took too long. So I believe the government must be much more proactive. It seems that the government concentration on photo op. If they go out in the street, if they go and plant a flower, they want a photo op and put it on social media and so on. I think there seems to be a concentration on image, not actually dealing with people's lives. When you're in opposition, this thing would work, because the government has the responsibility to manage, so you can easily take photo up in criticizing the government for the lack of what is not being done or not being done as well as it should be. But when you're in government, photo ops won't work. And unfortunately, they seem to think that is the campaigning still. The campaign has been done a whole year plus ago, but the government seems to be campaigning. So campaigning still. So a word to them is that stop the campaigning. Let's get them to work. Start solving people's problems. Start dealing with the pain and the hurt that exists outside there. The frustration of the market vendors. You move them from Queen's Park, where they were making a living. Why? You didn't know. Then all over the place, they can't sell nothing. So the hunger is prevailing. The increasing stress is prevailing. Your farmers are having problems. The fishermen are having problems. The bus drivers, I was just talking to what our brother was saying a while ago. The bus not moving because they said, well, we're driving and we're not getting passengers and gas price so high. So the busmen complaining, right? So everyone, almost every shopkeepers, the shopkeepers I know, even in my own constituency, I know it. They tell me when I say, but why are you not open? Doc, when I open, sometimes me alone in the shop for a day, I just burn in current. And nobody comes, so a lot of time I don't open. So a lot of places where you see young men and people liming on a Friday and a Thursday afternoon, empty, no activity at all, and so on. So there are enormous problems. So I just hope, in prayer, I would say, the government must start to lead them, and the photo op must become something of the past. You can take your photo off, but do something and then take a photo off from it. Not just posing, and talking, and not affecting people's lives in any serious. That would be my final statement.
Thank you very much. It's nice being here with you, and as usual, if you notice, I've changed my tone. I love conversation, not interviews.
No, and I agree, and that to me is the best approach, yes. Because then you feel free to express yourself on views that you think are important, and you yourself, as living in the country and you move around, say, yeah, you are what people are saying. And we have a responsibility, and I wish the Prime Minister himself would be dealing with that, issues of that instead of just speaking to people. Just sit down, listen, and respond accordingly. Face that the people may not be right, in some cases, but you still have to face them and respond accordingly.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, indeed, it was a pleasure talking with you, Dr. Mitchell, today, and you have shared quite a lot. And I do trust and hope that the ideas that you have expounded, the government will see fit to utilize some of them. Because, as I've said, 23 years of being Prime Minister and over 2 decades being Minister of National Security, you have experience, and experience that you provide information that can be used, and I do trust the government will see it fit to implement some of those ideas, because as it is at this point in time, the entire country is hurting from what we are seeing. And as we said, quite a lot of guns have been seized in the country at this point in time. So crime has taken a different outlook in as much as guns is at play. But we want to thank you, and we want to thank you for what you've been able to say to us today. And we look forward to continuing those sort of chit-chats, because there are issues and we want to deal with them head on. And with your experience, we know we can count on you. And of course, I know the nation want to hear from you, because at this point in time, we need to fix Grenada and we need to heal Grenada. And you have a role to help us in doing this. Thanks again, and God bless you.
Special good night to you, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Indeed, you just had the opportunity to listen to a former Prime Minister, political leader of the New National Party, and leader of His Majesty's opposition, Dr. the Right Honourable Keith Mitchell, speaking on the crime situation in Grenada.
You dress and you ready to party. Look, you have a knife from your belly. Rude boy that is plain enough to see. You come here to kill somebody.
Saying a special good night to all of you who have been joining us via the various mediums. Those of you that are on Facebook, too numerous to mention tonight. Oh gosh. Those of you who are joining us on YouTube as well, we say a special good night to each and every one of you.
All we want is unity and peace.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna open the phone lines, give you the opportunity to call in. 440-7377. You've heard what the former Prime Minister and also former Minister of National Security. So you've heard what Dr. Mitchell had to say in relation to what is taking place and the approaches that ought to be taken to deal with a situation like what's going on right now. One definite question I myself would have had for Dr. Mitchell had I been asking questions was, has the present administration asked for his assistance in any way in relation to this issue? You have an issue, a crime issue that's taking place in your country. You have an individual who has spent many years, peaceful years, as the Prime Minister of your country and as the Minister of National Security. Has the new team taken the opportunity to ask him any questions or seek any advice? We have a call online. Good night. Hello?
Shelan?
Hi, good night. You're live.
Good night, good night.
Yes, go right ahead, my dear.
Good night, Dr. Mitchell. Well, I will sit down and listen to you, sir. Congratulations, and I thank you for speaking for the people in this country. And I know a lot of people listen to you, sir, and whatever you say, they would like to see that happen. Good night, sir. You deserve an A. Anyhow, good night to everybody. My Prime Minister don't speak to her. I'm going on rest now. Patricia and Matthew, good night in Canada. And my children in America and everybody is listening. And Shelan,
Yes, ma'am.
a lady dropped her $20 this afternoon,
Great.
Drop her $20. And I want you, just allow me, please. I'm trying to get in touch with a young man in Black Bay. I cannot remember that little boy name. He's a little farmer. He lives with his dad in Black Bay. I would really like to get in touch with him. I just cannot remember his name. I asked one of the bossman to pass on the message. I know his father is living in Black Bay. A little farmer. He always bring a hand of green stick for me when he coming down in town. Please, if he's listening or his father or anybody that know him, he always in the garden with his daddy. Miss Camille, I really want to see you, darling. And good night to everybody. Good night to Dr. Mitchell. I love you with all my heart. Good night.
Night, Gabby.
All right, Mr. Scott.
All right.
All the
Lovely.
best.
Bye-bye. We've got a caller online. Okay, we lost that caller. All right. So, caller, you can call back 440-7377 and 347-329-3101. Those are the numbers you can call to get in on the inside of tonight's program. Because if we're having a situation like that and you have resource people, in other words, you have available to you Emlyn Pear, in 2008, under the 2008 NDC administration, she offered her assistance to them in relation to youth development. And I am absolutely sure in the national interest, if asked, she would be willing to assist again with dealing with some of the issues that we are seeing that are coming up there, that we see and we know certain things happening and certain things coming up. And she would be willing to assist. And I know that other members of the new National Party team will be willing to assist. So my question to Dr. Mitchell would have been, has the government been asking any questions, of you in relation to how to deal with the crime situation, or saying, what's your advice in relation to this or that or the other thing? I mean, at least, because you're new. You don't understand the situation. You don't have a clear understanding of the situation, cause and effect, etc., etc. So I would think in a situation like that, you would ask something. Barack Obama, who was Barack Obama, still used to go back and call George Bush and ask him certain questions and talk with him. Barack Obama is a Democrat. George Bush is a Republican. Yet still, Barack would pick up the phone and call him. Well, Trump didn't used to call anybody. But Barack Obama would pick up the phone and call somebody who was totally opposite in relation to him in nearly every way. He would call and he would ask questions. What about what's taking place here in Grenada? You have resource people available to you if you really want to solve the problem. You have resource people. Have they engaged? Are they engaging? I would have asked that question, definitely. Yeah, I think I know the answer, but as a journalist, you can't think you know the answer. You have to ask the question, yeah? So we have a caller online. Good night. Hello.
Good night, Sheldon. How are you?
Hey, I'm quite fine. How are you doing, Doc?
I am doing good. I'm doing good. Yeah.
All right. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So listening to our former Prime Minister, it has to shake us up into an awareness about crime and violence in our country. Sheldon, I don't know if the current government, and you asked a very pertinent question. The question you asked was whether or not the current government reached out or indicate that they would like some help from outside of the political construct. That's a very good question. There is one aspect of it I just want to highlight tonight for our people and for us to understand, Sheldon. You know, it took CARICOM a lot of years to reach to the point of just about getting ready to open up CARICOM countries through the CSNE, where one qualified practitioner from one country or skilled person does not necessarily have to get working permit to apply their trade and their skill in another country. I don't know if the current government understands the serious implication of what an upsurge in crime and violence can do to dismantle the very thing that we have fought so many years to try to get on board. Because right now, Sheldon, you cannot fault a country for wanting to protect its citizens and its borders and its security and its safety by applying astute and stringent means to keep certain people out. And when we try to, Sheldon, when we apply austerity measures to prevent the free movement of people, sometimes, a lot of times, innocent, well-meaning people get caught up in that mire of uncertainty. So this government has to understand the implication of an upsurge in crime and an upsurge in violence, what it can do for the image of this country. I mean, when you compare St. Lucia and St. Vincent, last year St. Vincent had about 46 murders. Okay, Sheldon, that is approximately 4 murders every month. St. Lucia had more than that. Grenada prides itself in being one of the most peaceful of all of the OECS and CARICOM states. And so now it is incumbent upon us to preserve that reputation so that people feel secure, people feel safe, especially now during the carnival season. An upsurge in violence and violent crimes can sort of impact negatively the tourists and other people wanting to come for carnival and other celebrations. So you asked a really pertinent question, and I am saying tonight, the current government needs to reach out. There are so many well-qualified people in the diaspora and also online in mainland Grenada and Carriacou and Petit Martinique who would be willing to join forces to help this government deal with the impact of the violence and the crimes that we're seeing. Mm-hmm. And that's my piece for tonight, Sheldon.
Indeed, and very, very pertinent at this time as well. And I'm asking the question if they're speaking to others because there's even yourself. Yeah, they can speak to you in relation to certain aspects of things that negative things that they're seeing happening in our country right now, instead of the activists who are doing nothing to help anybody. The activists are there with 2 and 3 contracts, making money, doing nothing to help anybody. Instead of them praising someone like you who is taking of your time and so on and trying to assist, or asking on their party to try to involve you and get you involved, yet they're attacking you. What sense does that make? Because they're looking at the politics and not looking at the country. If you were looking at the politics, you definitely would not have been doing a lot of what you're doing now for the young people. And I want to thank you for that very much, Doc. All right?
Well, you make a very important point, Sheldon. And I don't want, you know me, I never make any call to your program or any other forum that I present on about me. I think my work speaks for itself. But I agree with you that if we do not tap into the resources of our country to help, and tonight again, Dr. Mitchell talked about getting the churches involved, getting whether it's through prayer, through having, I remember during the reign of the NNP, when things like that happen, Dr. Mitchell will coalesce, the different bishops and pastors and bring them into the cabinet room so that they can pray and organize. And I see, I saw Pastor Devon Rache organizing a prayer for Grenada. Let me tell you this. This is very difficult times, Sheldon, and it takes more than human endeavor. It takes more than the understanding and the intelligence and the skills of some of us. It takes a higher power to calm some of the violent tendencies that we have. I tell you, violence is a very scary social ill, and it can really devastate a community and devastate a people. And already, when a people or a society is vulnerable with lack of jobs and scarce resources, violence becomes easier. Sheldon, that's the point I'm trying to make tonight. When the environment is fertile and rich, violence becomes so easy for people who would normally not even think about violence. So this is something that the government has to really take on straight and hard and go at it with all the energy. And I'm glad that Dr. Mitchell reached out tonight, and through this program, you are reaching out so that they can come to their senses and understand that Grenada is all about us and for us, and we are willing to help.
Okay, my brother. Thank you so very much for your input.
All right.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Yeah.
440-7377. That's 440-7377. That's the number for you to call and get onto the inside. And and it cuts across a lot of other areas too, because if you have someone with all of that knowledge, all of that advice that they can be giving you, and instead of utilizing that individual, you take the time to try and demonize them. Imagine, here it is tonight, you've had Dr. Mitchell speaking here on some very important national issues, and in fact, one particular issue, and giving different perspectives of how you can deal with it. And you have not many, but just 1 or 2 supporters of the government jumping in under the live to try and create confusion. That's the level that they're at right now. We have a caller online. Good night.
Good night.
Hi, good night, caller. You're live. Go right ahead.
Hey, Mr. Scott.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. The very speaking, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, I see boy just, he was a nice one day, man.
Yes, of course, yeah.
I mean, well spoken, man. It wasn't about fighting on, and politics, it was just about encourage the people of Grenada, to live together, and speak to the government, the things that they should be doing and they're not doing.
Yeah.
Just to do it, It's a good one, just and sit there and I admire the man, just speaking his heart tonight, to the people,
And I hope that the government takes on board some of what he's saying and even engages him in trying to find a solution to what is going on in our country right now. Remember, this is an individual that has a political party that got over 47% of the vote at the last general election. That's a significant portion of the population. So I believe he should be engaged, especially on an issue like this. He should be engaged. Hello? Oh, it seems as though my good friend's phone. Hey, hello?
Hello?
Yes, I realize you went off a bit there.
Yeah, but my dad called you back here because...
Yeah, I understand.
I was calling on credit.
Don't worry, I understand. All right, my brother.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'll call you back on WhatsApp.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yeah, man, you could call us on WhatsApp too. 440-7377 and also 347-329-3101. I want to give, let me see now, let me get the overseas line. We take the local line. Let me give the overseas line because someone's been calling and they haven't been getting through. So I'm going to give the overseas line. By the time you hear this, I hope I'm able to take the call. I'm going to give the overseas line the opportunity right now because someone has been calling and usually we're talking with somebody else at that time. So let me see if we could get whoever is on the overseas line and then we'll just start taking calls from everybody again. All right, so person who was calling on the overseas line, you can call again. All right, back on 347-329-3101. You can give us a call again. All right, yeah. Everyone that can be engaged, whether you're engaging with the churches, and it's important to engage the churches, and I want to congratulate Pastor Devon Rocher on his initiative for that prayer session that he's doing this week. I believe it's on Thursday. I think it's in town itself. I think in front of the mall or somewhere there. The time I'd have to confirm. Somebody, Talking Points crew, one earlier, send the message to me. Let me know exactly where Brother Devon Rocher is doing that one. All right, nice. You know what? Let me. I'm not seeing the call coming on the overseas line, so I'm gonna have to take this one instead. All right. Let me see. Let me see if I can get this one on. Hello. Good night.
Good night, Sheldon.
Hi. Good night.
I want to join with Dr. Panchu. And the second part on the spiritual level, because it is very important that we look on both sides. One cannot do without the other. And with the spiritual part, we need to do a great confession to God. I don't know, but on my spiritual insight, I do not want to look contradictory or criticize, but I want to know, or I'm saying that during the campaign time, the headman, what's his name?
You're speaking about the Prime Minister himself now?
P.T. Matney, Carriacou, and Grenada. That is turning the country upside down. In that realm, that's not good. And they do some stuff by the candlelight. These things are not of God. And I hope Mr. Rocher and all of them understand what has went on. So we need to go back there and ask God to forgive us. These people went road they should not walk. And the enemy like blood. And all what is happening in our country is bloodshedding. Why? So people in the spiritual realm have to ask God what went wrong. And it is not normal, Sheldon. And this is my spiritual insight. And this is what I had to share for tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, caller.
Yes.
440-7377. That's 440-7377. That's the number for you to call and get onto the inside of tonight's program. That's 440-7377. Yes, so you can call and you could get onto the inside of tonight's program. Yeah, and I know someone was calling again. Every time I take another call, that's when the overseas line ring in. Every time. Let me see. So someone, I know my group go help me out. So they're going to be having that's Let's Pray for Grenada. It's going to be taking place on Thursday at 4:30 in front of the Esplanade Mall. At least, you can't say 2 hours of prayer, right? Devon and them start to pray 2 hours of prayer. Next thing, all 12 o'clock, man, still they praying. Yes, so at least 2 hours of prayer for our nation, and that's going to be taking place in front of the Esplanade Mall this Thursday by Bishop. He's not pastor again, he's Bishop Devon Rocher now, isn't he? Yeah, so by Bishop Devon Rocher. So yeah, Bishop Devon Rocher. So let me take this call. Hello, good night.
Hello, good night, Mr. Sheldon.
Hi, good night. Yes, sir. You go right ahead. You're live.
Yeah, well, I'm calling. I'm very thankful very much for our NMP leader, NMP party. Thanking him very, very much for what he said there tonight. And I heard you asking a question about the question. Even though you ask a question, even though you ask anything, they won't take your advice.
Mm-hmm.
They won't take his advice. So he's a waste of time. So thanking you very much for all the program which you just have, and then thanking the opposition leader for what he said to us. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thank you so very much, caller. And again, 440-7377. That's the number to call and get on to the inside. Let me try over on the WhatsApp now. Yeah, let me try. I've taken one on each one, so trying on the WhatsApp, but I know I ain't getting through the overseas line at all. Hello, good night. Hello,
hey, Mr. Scott. Yeah, I call back.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead. Yeah.
Well, a member of the Agape Ministry.
Mm-hmm.
One of the Pastor Devon Rocher member.
Yeah.
Well, on Thursday we'll be having a evening of prayer, by the Estimate Mall.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to invite all my NMP family, just come out and have a time of prayer with God, for our nation, for the healing of our nation, So I'm just asking everybody just come out and give God some praise and some glory, on Thursday evening at 4:30.
Mm-hmm. All right, my brother. So I look forward. I look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, and on Saturday we also have Caribbean cuisine, so you come and taste a couple of the Caribbean food at the Agape Ministry in River Road.
But I realize you all are always very busy, man. I realize you all had a men's conference recently. You all have couples night out, all the church always busy, man.
Yeah, man. I enjoyed that couples night Friday night, man. Yeah, the picnic Friday night. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Lovely. I love to see that.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, and we intend to hear from you all and see you all out on Thursday. God's willing.
Yeah, on Thursday.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much, my brother.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yes, folks. So, yeah. The Agape Ministry. Yeah, they does have all kind of things. The fella doesn't be watching. Devon? The fella doesn't be watching out. You know what's going on, 440-7377. And you can call us on WhatsApp on that number as well. And you can also call us from overseas now on 347-329-3101. You see, now nobody on the line and nobody ain't calling. When somebody on, that's when somebody calling. You understand? So let me see if we could call back one of the people who was trying to call. Nice. Yeah, we go try to call them back now and see if we go get through to one of them. Right? Yeah. So a collective approach. I always believe that we need to have with these things, you need a collective approach to these issues. Even, you have the prayer session. Members of the NDC should come out as well and go to the prayer session. We have a call online. Good night.
Hey, Brother Sheldon.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead. You're live.
Ask me the question. I love the green and ask me the question. Is the government understand, really know the danger that is taking place with the crime of the country? But Brother Sheldon, when you look at it, tourism is one of the key pillars in generating revenue for the country. And if you have this thing going on in the country, and where the government at the time don't do anything to speak and to get your men together, You know the danger that could take place with the country where tourists will be free to come in our country. Right? And I do believe the time for the government to come together. I know definitely the members of NMP executive and supporters are willing to come together to see how they could solve that problem in curbing the crime that is taking place among young people. And also encouraging the two ministers in sympathetic ways, do something to bring that to a closure. And Mr. Sheldon, the opposition leader, he did a wonderful job in ways that the DM could help and the government could get things done to help solve the crime in the country. But it looked like if the government do care about what's going on, I rather care about like in the same government and whatever happening in the country with the young people and people. They don't care about it. And I do believe it's time for the government to get up and do something. Get up and do something to solve the problem. What is going on in the country? But I shall have a great night.
All right. Thank you very much, Kola. 4407377. That's the number for you to call and get onto the inside. Yeah. So, Cami, I had the number, the guy, his name and his number for you. I'm going to send it for you in a little while. Yeah. So, again, we need that collaborative approach. So, you hear the Agape Ministries, they're doing their prayer session and so on. We need to hear because there's some pastors that was busy when it came to politics time. When it came to politics time, there were some pastors that were very busy in this country. Yeah? I'm not attacking anybody. I'm just speaking what the facts are that each and every one of you know was the truth. There were some pastors that were very busy when the election was going on, that were in churches and laying hands and saying all sorts of things and accusing people of all kind of things, but we're not hearing them right now. They get very silent. Yeah? We have a call online. Good night. Hello?
Sheldon.
Yes, sir.
Good night. How are you?
I'm good, sir.
Listen me. This is the old man they was talking about all the time there. No, man, I didn't know the man was so old. He really, he younger than the Prime Minister as far as I see, the man in good health. And what happened to the man look as a very, very, very brilliant fellow. He could really talk. The only thing is that the gentleman would not stay in Grenada to take no advice from Dr. Mitchell, because Dr. Mitchell is so brilliant for him. The only thing that he could do well is to fly a lot, as though he's the pilot for the yacht, and then the wrong thing that he has been doing to the Grenadian people and Grenada as a whole. Just take that part of it for the night.
All right. Thank you very much, caller.
Take care of yourself.
All right. Thank you. 4407377. That's 4407377. I'd like to congratulate Mr. Oliver Joseph on the way that he handled himself on GBN this morning. There was no way. I know one individual. You all know the individual, and we know the individual has no sense. So from the time we hear that voice, yeah, Jude. Yeah, not teacher Jude, not Rude Jude. No, not Judas Jude. Another Jude. But from the time we heard that voice, we know not to expect anything sensible. We know that that person is so into hatred that we didn't expect to hear anything sensible. So I'd like to congratulate, Mr. Oliver Joseph on his appearance this morning on the To The Point program. He was very clear, very concise in relation to the IMF report and going through several aspects of it that spoke of the many achievements of the new National Party when it comes to the economy of Grenada. So I'd like to congratulate and thank you so very much, sir. 440-7377. That's the number for you to call and get on lines. Remember, you can call us on WhatsApp as well as you can call us directly using that number, 440-7377. And for those of you outside of Grenada, as in those of you that are in the U.S., yeah, or you're in Canada, right, North America in general, you can call us on 347-329-3101. It's like a local call. You can give us a call, all right? And then let me say a special good night to our listeners out there in the UK. I don't know how all you're up this hour of the night, but special good night to our UK listeners. I thought most of you all used to listen like the next morning, you know. So special good night to you, my brother, my pity Martinican brother. If I don't know is you, my pity Martinican brother. Special good night to you. We have a call online. Good night. Hello.
Hello, good night.
Good night, caller. You're live. Go right ahead.
Yes, all that we need to do in Grenada is to repent. They pray enough during the election time. All they need to do is to repent. Nothing about praying now. Repentance time. Good night.
Thank you very much, caller. The caller says it's time to repent. All right? Yes, it's time to repent. Because I said there were a lot of pastors. You heard the reports, and if you were lucky to be there, you heard some of them. Yeah, a lot of them, they stood up on the pulpit and is what they didn't have to say about the new national party and all kind of thing. Is what they didn't have to say about the candidates of the new national party or the political leader of the new national party and so on. And now we have a dire situation where the people of Grenada, Carriacou and Petit Martinique are facing a negative situation. We are hoping to hear from them with the same vigor and energy that they had during the election campaign. We hope to hear from them now. Yeah? We hope to hear from them now. We have a caller online. Good night. Hello.
Yeah, good night, sir.
Hi, good night.
Yeah, good night, sir.
You're live. You're live. Go right ahead.
Okay, sir. I just want to say, right, I listened to the former Prime Minister. He was very articulate. However, with the crime issue, crime is like agriculture. It cultivated, somebody water it, and somebody will harvest it. And you cannot tell me that a government in 1 year cultivate that kind of crime, water it, and not harvesting it. It has to be done prior to that.
But why did it not manifest? Why did it not manifest before that then?
It was manifested, but a fire take a time to burn. You don't just blaze.
No, it was not. It was not manifested. If you no. Hold on. It was not manifested because if you look,
it was.
No. We're gonna have a conversation.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
No. This is my program. I'm going to tell you something now. You're saying that it manifested. The crime rates, the rate of crime for the last 10 years does not show that. It shows something totally different. So you're not speaking the truth. You're not speaking the truth.
Let me ask you the question.
Go right ahead.
Let me ask you the question. For the same period in the last 2 years prior to this year of the government, how many murders you had in the first 6 months of the year?
Last year it was 3.
And the year before that?
I don't have the figures for the year before that, but it was probably about 1 or 2.
So the percentage just go by 1. And if you cultivate a plant and it grows, when it grows, it will blossom. When it blossoms, it will give you fruit.
Brother man,
it will take a time.
Brother man, if you know about agriculture,
so
you also know.
Don't blame a government.
My brother.
Okay, in the same light.
Well, hold on. In the first place, if you have short crop and you have long crop, you have things that take 10 years to bear, and you have things that you could grow in short order in a few weeks. So don't come with the agriculture thing like if there is some brilliant expose. You have short crop and you have long crop. So you do have a situation.
Crime doesn't cultivate
no,
like
my
that.
brother. If you create the enabling environment for it, it will happen. And sometimes the enabling environment can be caused
because it was created prior to now.
My brother, that's if it was created. Hold on, no, they ain't gonna do that here. If it was created prior to now, it would have manifested at that time. Yeah, it would have manifested. First thing you come, in fact, you know what? First thing you came and you're saying, that's how, I think I had enough for you. Because nobody is going to try to lie to the Grenadian people, the first thing you come with is that you come here saying that what the crime was before and all. No. Last year, within the same period, because obviously you didn't know that or you would not ask that question. 3 murders in the first 6 months. 3. Yeah? Crimes of passion kind of thing. That's what it had. The year before was probably 1 or 2. In fact, I think the first murder we had in 2021 came about somewhere roughly about March or April or something like that. That was when we had the first murder taking place in that year. So it is not a situation that you could try to blame. And the thing is, the New National Party has not been blaming. I'll take the calls just now. Has not been blaming. They're saying there is a situation that you need to address. We could play the blame game, because a lot of people go home and their economic situations have changed. These people were working. They were earning a bread. So these people were people that had economic means. They didn't have the sort of stress that they might have right now that affects them on different level. Yeah? So if you had something happen, all countries have crime. But when you see that you have 3 within a period of time, and then within the same period of time, you have more than you had for the whole year last year, you have to tell yourself something wrong. You definitely have to tell yourself that something is wrong. And therefore, it is beholden on the government. You can't try to blame the New National. That's nonsense, dotishness, and stupidness. I ain't tolerating it. Yeah? You can't try to blame the last administration for what is taking place under this administration. That is nonsense. It's this administration has the responsibility to deal with the situation and address the situation. That's why we're having the discussion and saying that even if they want to speak to the members of the last administration of how to address this problem, I can talk because I have been one of the people that were out there dealing with these kind of things before. Yeah? In fact, let's go to the phone line. We have a caller online. Good night. Hello? Hello? Okay. Yeah. I think we go back to the phone lines. Hello, good night.
Shelan.
Hi, good night.
Good night. That last caller there, and people, all the people that kill themselves under that stress in Grenada there.
No, like NNP created distress.
You should have cut him off, Shelan.
No, but I did. So
you want to blame NNP government for the people that put the rope in their neck and who fall down from heart attack. That's what you want to do. What is that man? That man don't live in Grenada. Why people see trouble in this country? People stressed out. A lot of people stressed out. NDC supporters stressed out. NNP stressed out. QLC stressed out. What do you? You don't live in Grenada. What is that man? Something wrong with all you. You come nice, and then you stop. Hey, excuse me. People is struggling with their bills. And they are not NNC people that would stress on people who are under victimization. I'm not stressed out. And I don't work in the government. What's wrong with you?
You see, it's okay to Cammy, you see, Cammy, it's okay for them to speak because they're not here. They're not here. It's okay in the instance of that individual to speak like that.
Because we are Grenadians. I say sometimes, Shelan, don't beg them people. Don't beg them. Don't give them no advice. I beg you know. You know what people I know that today? A little water selling and coming out some money to pay the bus. And they walk in. You have people that don't get paid. I have a friend. They walk in the road in Maryburg there. They don't get money up to now. More than one fortnight. You have something to lie and you have something to give it truth. What is that, man?
Cammy, we go talk. All right, my dear. Don't lose your temper. It's okay.
Are you like it, Michelle? Are you balling now?
Cammy, it's okay.
What are you getting great, eh? And are you talking about prayer?
Cammy.
Has to be clean.
Cammy.
For God.
Cammy.
For Papa God.
Kiami,
to
937.
anti-spread in Grenada.
930
Because we don't grateful set of people in this country. Grateful.
Okay. Kiami.
We as Grenadians are grateful. We're not.
Kiami, you're going to cut it. No, you see, I'm trying to tell you. We have other people calling. You call already. You made the point. Move on. Yeah. We have a caller online. Good night. Hello.
Yeah, good night.
Hello.
Yeah, good night.
Hi, good night.
Yeah, driving with you too, Chris. Listen to Mr.
I'm barely hearing you, and I don't know why. I don't know if you're speaking away from the phone or what it is, but I'm hearing you.
Yes,
Yeah.
good night again.
Yeah. You need to look. Whatever it is in the background is making a lot of noise too.
You hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, join with Mr. Oliver this morning. I listened to the point and join with you to congratulate him too this morning.
Okay.
Congratulate the former Prime Minister for speaking tonight. And I'm not mistaken, I will join the group on Thursday evening to Josephine.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you very much. Yeah. Right. 440-7377. That's the number for you to get onto the program. All right. That's the number for you to get onto the program. No, I'm not going to tolerate it. I'm not going to tolerate it. Yeah. You all have your programs. You could go on and spread your nonsense. It wouldn't be spread here. Yeah. You all got your places. Go and spread your nonsense there. Don't try and spread it here. Nice. But what cultivating nonsense? We have a call online. Good night.
Good night. Good night. So what the guy want to say? So NNP said years ago for when they come in power. Is that the kind of situation you want to come and say? I mean, because I understand you.
I wouldn't even waste my.
I mean, these fellas and them don't have no sense. I mean, a big man to talk in this stupidness. You could get so easy to get emotion to fight and them kind of thing. And you have your plan, you're seeing trouble, you don't have no food to eat to give your children. All kind of thing could happen. What are these fellas and them? I mean, these fellas don't have no sense, man. I mean, they're too terrible. I mean, better to beg Dr. some sense from under your foot. You could give them some sense from under your foot, go. Tell them keep themselves quiet, eh?
All right, my brother. All right, 440-7377. That's the number. That's the number for you to call and get on to the inside. And we've got a call on the line. Good night.
Yes, good evening, Sheldon. This is Darian Phyllis from New York. How are you?
I'm quite fine, Darian. How are you and Mom doing?
We're hanging in there. I want to thank you again for the prayers, but most importantly, I just heard the call that recently called just now about the crime. And Sheldon, I have to commend you again. Thank you for holding your own, because I'll make it short and sweet. Grenada has to catch itself, because I understand, like I said, we're from the diaspora, and Grenada's not known for that kind of behavior. And I will say this, we must watch ourselves as a people, as a black people, as a Grenadian people. You cannot adopt someone else's sociology. I'm very happy that you held your own against that caller. He's entitled to his opinion, but Grenada is not a place of violence. No man is perfect. No man's an island. But I'm very proud to hear you have that defense, because I am listening from overseas, because I listen to your show avidly and other things pertaining to Grenada, Carriacou, Petite, Martinique, and I noticed that it's going left. We have to watch ourselves. Like I say, you got to catch yourself. Like they say, catch yourself.
All right,
so,
my
Sheldon,
dear.
thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Yes.
And I'm going to make sure Bishop. I'm going to make sure Bishop Rishi says a special one for you and Mom.
Yes, please do that. But thank you, and I pray and keep the island in our prayers, because and safe. We do not want to mimic other places. We are our own people, our own unique culture, and we must be proud of that. And again, we don't adopt other people's sociology. Thank you.
All right,
and
my dear.
You're in our prayers.
Thank you
Have
so
a good
very
night.
much. All right.
Okay. Good night.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
440-7377. Yeah, 440-7377. That's the number for you to call and get onto the inside of tonight's program. And let's be clear here. We've had Dr. Mitchell speaking on the situation. He gave several bits of advice to the present administration. Yeah? Did he go into any long-winded thing blaming the present administration? No, he says there's a problem. This is what you can do. This is what you need to look at. These are different things. And he can say that because we've had situations where we've been able to deal with that before. We have a call online. Good night.
Good night, Brother Sheldon. Good night.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
Not too bad. And Senator Scott, what I don't like from what we gathering out here, everything is about an NNP and an NDC. We're talking about people's life. You understand me? Mm-hmm. The caller that called 2 calls before, if you follow the world pattern, once you get in power, it's you to solve the problem. Why are we trying to go back and use it like the last government that caused it? You understand me? You is here now. You try and fix it. Get jobs for the people. You understand? Come on. You stand up on the podium and you tell the young people all what you're going to do for them by the stroke of a pen. Just remember that. And I hope your callers and them just always go back and listen to the clips. Instead of they just keep trying to accuse and accuse. Dr. Mitchell speak tonight and he make it clear. You understand? It's not an NNP or NDC thing. It is a Grenada problem. And we have to try and solve the problem. Either if it's Evelyn Pierre or if it's Miss Peters, whoever it is, has to step forward. It's not a party thing. It is a people. The people are concerned about what's going on in the country.
We've been constant in our message that there is a national problem that needs all hands on deck. You could spend time playing the blame game or you could spend time solving the issue. Yeah? Part of solving the issue is you look at what are the causative factors, and so that's important. But you need all hands on deck to deal with the issue.
We listen to the idea in the diaspora is about NDC and NNP, NDC, NNP. We cannot go down that road. The election is gone. Stop campaigning and start fixing. Look at the problem. As the last caller said, no man is an island. Come on, Grenada, wake up. You asked to do the job. You get up and start doing the job. Don't keep going back and going back. We have something we should send the evolution, forward ever, backward never. So why are we always looking behind our shoulder? Are we guilty about something? Come on, Grenada, wake up. Have a good one, Brother Sheldon.
All right. Thank you so very much, my brother. You know, I have a good friend. Spent years as a police officer. Years, you know, as a police officer in the U.S. and so. In fact, brother, yeah, give me a call. Give me a call. I'm waiting on your call. Give me a call. Give me a call, man. Yeah, I think I want to hear from you. Give me a call. Right? Yeah, on the 440-7377 number, give me a call. Right? Yeah, and let me see if that is my good friend there. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
But that's not the one I was looking for, but go right ahead. You're live.
What I understand is that whenever the NDC cannot fix their problem or they're messing up and they're not doing the work, they're always blaming the NNP. And when NNP do things, all the things that NNP did and has set in motion, when they come, they're claiming it. Everything that is good, they're claiming it, saying it's theirs, and it's not them. They met and they just continue doing the work. And boots on the ground. They have to be ashamed of themselves. Good night.
All right. Thank you very much, caller. And I think we have a call online. Good night.
Yeah, it's me.
Good night, sir. You are live. Eh? So, Brother Nimrod Oliver.
Bro, I'm listening, and normally I just listen and
no, you had to call in this one, man.
Make a comment, but I had to call because it's kind of frightening when you sit there and you listen to people coming on a national media and talking about crimes that crime is it's planted and all of that. I mean, it troubled me. And I just want to say one thing, right? Crime is not random. It is either planned or opportunistic, right? And I mean, I'll call back one time and another time, and we'll get into the whole theory of the whole thing of crime pattern theory and crime waves and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But the main point tonight is I want people to understand that crime is not random. It's planned or it's opportunistic, right? A lot of the major crimes that we faced in Grenada here before, the murders and stuff like that, it normally used to fall on the crime of passion, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that we didn't have this big set of crime. When I was doing my master's degree, I actually elected to do crime in the Caribbean. Obviously, I was in the United States, and I was supposed to do it on a department in the United States, not NYPD, because I work for them. But I asked the professor if I can do it in the Caribbean, and I must say, I had to call around to the Caribbean and to get different data and stuff from different islands, Barbados and Vincent and so when I did Grenada, when I got the numbers the first time, the superintendent that I was in charge at the time, I think it was Sylvan or one of them, gave me the numbers, and I couldn't believe how low the crime was here, even though I was in Grenada every month. Mm-hmm. You're talking, it was like for 5 years or 6 years or so, you were experiencing 4 and 5 murders a year. That's the kind of crimes that we used to have in Grenada here. And I had to triple check and verify because you had much smaller islands. St. Kitts and so on. I mean, you don't want to put these islands on blast, but 20-something. And that's where they were, in the high teens and in the 20s, when Grenada was single-digit crime we were experiencing. So I'm still trying to follow his logic when he talks about what was planted and cultivated and this and that. No, that there is a problem, and we have to identify the root cause of the problem in order for us to solve it. Mm-hmm. Every nation, whether it's the U.S., England, Canada, whatever, you do experience crime waves. And so you take measures to counteract it. But if you do nothing and you just sit back and wait for when the next one to happen and the next one to happen, what are you going to have? What are we putting in place? Where is the personnel being deployed? What are these patterns? Why is it occurring? What are the age groups that it's occurring among? What's the root cause? And so far, I've not heard anything from any one of the ministries saying, hey, we have identified what are some of the causes of the crime, and we have this, that in place to help alleviate it. And the sad thing is, I don't want to see it, but the history tells you, based on what we are experiencing right now in Grenada, because remember, I told you, crime is either what? It's not random, it's either planned
or opportunistic.
Right. With the pending carnival coming, we do have some elements in our society or people in our society that would use that as a guise to carry out certain crimes because they will see the opportunity. So the powers to be in the nation has to take steps to ensure that they have proper planning in place and to ensure that people have a safe carnival. This is where we are right now, because the pattern tells you, come the month of August, we're going to experience some more crimes. There is going to be an uptick unless drastic measures are taken. But let's, I don't want to take too long. We will set aside a day.
You can take the rest of the program if you want.
Yes. You tell me when, and we will call and we'll discuss some crime. I just have to call because, you got some of the listeners, yes, I believe, I would say 99.9% of who is listening is smart and knows that what he was saying is nonsense, but we still have that 0.1% that might think, hey, what he said, they might make sense. And I believe it was the same gentleman that called. I wouldn't know. I believe it was the same gentleman that called and was trying to say about the passport thing with the UK. Well, I got news for him. the UK welcomes people from the Middle East, and so the Middle East people is not a problem. The problem is Russia, because Canada, the United States, and the UK have imposed sanctions against the Russia, and they have no sanctions against the Middle Eastern people. The UK has a very strong, striving Middle Eastern population going on. So what was he talking about is because passport was being sold to the Middle East? Well, then he needs to do his history and find out what's the major percentage of the Grenadian passport, who it was sold to in the past, whether it was under NNP or NDC, who these passports were being sold, because I'm quite sure Middle Eastern wouldn't be the vast majority under NNP, and likewise it's not the vast majority under NDC. So we need to be responsible.
He may want to research the Pakistanis in the UK and the Middle Eastern people and all of that. He may want to do some research.
He might definitely want to do that. And to see how the UK feel about people, because they have special programs for people from Pakistan and for India and of Middle Eastern origin. Maybe he forgot that there was 2 Gulf Wars and that special provisions were made, for persons in those areas. Yes, I mean, it's disheartening when, listen, sometimes we have to really put country first and take the politics out of it.
Yes, indeed.
For me, it has always been, I am Grenadian first. Right? And we have to be responsible citizens and think before we talk, especially when our voices are being heard by thousands, maybe millions of people around the world, because it's a reflection of who we are. Mm-hmm. I promise you I wouldn't take up all the minutes.
We're going to have a night soon.
Something before the carnival holiday, and we'll have a discussion on crime.
We must do that. All right, my brother. Thank you so very much.
Let me leave the listeners again, right? We would deal with the crime pattern theory, which is explaining, why people commit crimes in certain areas. Mm-hmm. But I want to leave with this: crime is not random. It is either planned or opportunistic. Mm-hmm. Right?
Thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you.
And you see, I'm going to make sure that we bring him on during next week. I think next week is a good time. We give him, we're going to bring Brother Nimrod Olivier on with us. Because that is it. That is how crime is. But they say, the seeds of crime were planted and all this. So anyway. But I know what the intention, and let me just clarify before we end tonight, what the intention of the caller has been. And they're still attempting to call. Every couple 30 seconds, they're still trying to call back to the program. I'm just ignoring them. And I'm letting them know that I'm ignoring them. I'm letting you know that I'm ignoring them as well. The reason being is that Dr. Mitchell has been very, very clear. He has showed the difference between knowing what you're about and not knowing what you're about. He has shown the difference of experience versus inexperience. He has shown the difference between caring and not caring. He's shown the difference between talk and action. He's made all of those very, very clear in 1 hour. Speaking for just under an hour, in fact, about roughly 54, 55 minutes. He's made all of that very, very clear. So anyone listening to him understands what needs to be done in relation to this issue. At no time did he go into any long tirade blaming anybody. He spent the time explaining what some of the causative factors may be. That there may be people who are going through hard economic times. You may have lost your job and they may be going through mental anguish. So there are various things that can be happening to people, and we've been over this with Dr. Panchu several times. So you have these things that are taking place, and Dr. Mitchell was very clear in saying, yes, those can be some of the things that are taking place, but at the same token, government needs to do its work. You can't be bothering to go around and only taking pictures. You're lying here, you're lying there, you're jumping a plane, and every 2 minutes you're out of the country, and you have this problem taking place in your country, you need to address it. You need to understand that it is taking place, and you need to put measures in place to deal with it. But if there is already a playbook that says this is what you should do, and the people who wrote the playbook, who used the playbook effectively, let me use an example here. Several years ago, when I was attached to the Prime Minister's ministry, there was the RSS together with the United States military and several other militaries were here in Grenada, and they had that conference. I remember it was I remember the admiral's name because he was a Scot, Admiral Scott. And you had several other people that were here for trade winds here in Grenada. And one of the things that you were hearing from the police and military contingents from all the other countries was that Grenada is the most peaceful place that they've ever been to. Not only that, Grenada has one of the highest rates in relation to solving crime in the Caribbean region. In fact, probably the highest in the Caribbean in relation to solving. In other words, we have a very effective Royal Grenada Police Force. Yeah? And that by nature, we are people, if we see a crime take place, bet your bottom dollar we go in court. I see him, he pass. I see when he walk up the road, 11:45 in the night, he had on a black and white t-shirt and he had on a brown pants and he was carrying a crocus bag in his hand. I see he was going up the road and he take a left by the mango tree. We go in court and say it as it is. That is how we are as Grenadians. Other countries, people are afraid to go to court because they're afraid of repercussions if they go to court. Not here in Grenada, we go into court, we talking, we saying what happening. Yeah? So there are several factors that can be put together. Yeah? But we have to look at what is taking place now. And you've heard Dr. Mitchell speak on it. And the intention of the individual was to throw off the program. To an extent, they have been successful, but to an extent, they've also allowed us the opportunity to expand on the message of the political leader. Yeah? And that is good, not bad. They've allowed us the opportunity not to focus on them, but to focus on the lack of density of the proposals that they were putting forward as intellect, which was really drivel. Yeah? And we have to understand that people will come to do that. You just had Dr. Mitchell speaking, and I want you all to make sure that you like, before you leave tonight, like and share the program. Because you want to make sure that other people hear the message that he delivered tonight. So you all have a responsibility to like and share, copy the link, share it via WhatsApp, share it via Messenger. Even if you have to text it to people, text it. I don't think a text could fit into a text. But send a text to them and tell them, go on Talking Points, go on the NNP page, wherever, and listen to the message. Yeah? And call on the government to work together with all of the people, not just the NNP, everybody that has a part to play in ensuring that our island returns to the sense of normalcy, peace, and stability that we have known under the last administration. Folks, that's all the time we have tonight for Talking Points. We will be back tomorrow night, God's willing, with more Talking Points for you. It's been wonderful being here with you. And again, we'd like to thank Dr. Right Honorable Keith Mitchell for tonight's, first half of tonight's program. And Pastor Garway and Selwyn Noel, the entire production team that was there that did that interview that was aired this evening. And of course, we'd like to thank them. Thank all of the callers. Even the negative one. All of the callers, we'd like to thank each and every one of you. And we'd like to ensure that you remain safe and secure, because we want to be speaking to and with you and not about you. Love each and every one of you. We are out of here. Remember to like and share. Like and share. And get folks to subscribe and to like the pages. Like and share. All right? We are out.
Don't stop the progress. and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like these. No, 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 all we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like these. No, no, no. That's right. You dress and you ready to party. Look, you have a knife from your belly. Rude boy, that is plain enough to see. You come here to kill somebody. It's time that you stop that nonsense. We come here to enjoy ourselves. Leave hatred right there on top the shelf. This party is no violence. All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like these. No, no, no. All we want is unity and peace. Hey, in the party, oi, we don't have to live like these. No, no, no. Na 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 na. Hey, yo. Na 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 na. Hey, yo. What you come here for? What you come here for? What you come here for? What you come here? What you come here? What you come